start just to introduce myself. I'm Elizabeth Cullinane. I've travelled this morning from West Limerick in Abbeyfield, and I have a partner that works with me, is Mary Danaher. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it this morning. But this is a banner that we put together, and it was just literally a group of people that came together, and our aim was to promote a community response in partnership with other service providers to build resilience and mobilise parish communities. Basically what John said this morning. So we began in 2008, literally our parish priest got one of these books in the door, and it kind of started from there in 2008. Our priest, Father O'Shea, gathered local people, and a committee was formed that came from the youth service that we were involved with, a parent support worker, Mary Danaher, and we also had confirmation programs and people that were involved in the You Should Be Our Witness program and the Holy Communion. And we all came together, and we volunteered, or we were volunteered, one or the other, to come together, and Darren and John came down and trained us in how to deliver a program to our confirmation program. We did a needs assessment of the parish first of all, and which also has led us to put up brochures around our parish. We have them up in the different sides of the church. We have 4 lots of holders in our church. We have delivered them to our other parish churches in our area. There's Tornafulla, Mount Collins, Abbeyfield has the main church is us. Then we have Temple Glanton, and we are moving out now to Dwar hopefully this year as well, which is kind of bringing in North Kerry. And we keep those stocked up, and we also have them in the library, our local library. We sponsor them, and we've also put them up in the St Ida's Hall, which is where our young people meet for the youth clubs. We have over 200 people in the youth clubs between the Friday and the Saturday nights. And so we have different leaflets there, and it covers alcohol, drugs, it covers mental health issues, it covers rehab, where to go to get help, and careers for kids as well. So there's loads of different areas that we've kind of branched out into. And if people we have a website as well and an email address. If anyone wants to get in touch with us, they can contact us that way, or through telephone as well, or through the parish priest, and they can leave information of what they feel that the needs need to be addressed. So the outcome from that was that the parents and the young people felt that they lacked information, so the awareness and education training was involved. So then we went on, we had the parish and the schools. We have the 5 national schools in Abbeyfield involved, and as I say, Temple Glanton and hopefully Dwar will come into that now this year. We link in with Abbeyfield for the confirmation programme, because we have confirmation every year, whereas Arte and Temple Glanton and the other surrounding parish, they're smaller, so they have it every second year, so we kind of link in with them every second year. We go into the schools, myself and Mary Danaher go into the transition year students every year, and we spend 3 full days training them. We were there this Wednesday, and we were there this Friday, and we're going to be there again on Monday, and we're going to spend time travelling, going through all the different topics from communication skills, and I'll go through a few topics in a minute. And we link in with the parents then as well on those evenings. And I'm involved with the Midwest Regional Drugs Task Force, and that's where we get a lot of our funding from as well. I'm a representative on the Voluntary Cluster Group and on the Education and Prevention. So I feel that what we're doing in Abbeyfield and the surrounding parishes is brought back to the table, and the information is going higher up. For the transition year programme then, we deal with communication skills, and we help how the children actually process information, because we're aware today that a lot of kids have special needs as well, so they may have issues, and everyone learns differently. That's one thing we learned ourselves. So how they process information. Some people like to be stimulated through PowerPoints. A lot of other kids prefer brainstorming. Others prefer activities with worksheets. So we kind of bring all that together, and so that way it appeals to everyone, because you're not going to catch everyone the first time. And we look at types of behaviour. We highlight refusal skills. We talk about the substances. That includes smoking, alcohol, and all the different types of drugs. We find out what they know first of all, and then we kind of put them in the right direction and give them the information that they may have been missing. We look at the effects of the use, the consequences, and the attitudes. We look at what costs to the society, what costs in the home, those type of things, as well as in the person themselves. We look at healthy life choices, natural highs and moderation. We use the Dare to Dream DVD there. It comes in. We get a great response from the girls as well when Dara talks about her job in the aircraft going up, how she likes to have a drink, but she does it in moderation. That's important. We don't talk about zero tolerance. We have to be realistic. Young people are going to experiment, and so we found that the video is very good. And it talks about the sports person then as well, how they lost out and on their dream, and how he went down the road of alcoholism, but he was able to get help and recognise that through a course that he was doing. So we bring all that into it, and we talk about self-esteem and confidence and mentoring, because those young people, those transition year students, will go back into the 6th class students and deliver this programme. And when those 6th class students come into the new school, then they have someone that they recognise in that school. So that's the mentoring side of going in there. We talk about friendships for the 6th class students, and we talk about relationships for the transition years and how they're influenced each other. We talk about bullying and conflict resolution, and how violence isn't an option. It's how to resolve the conflict, really. We talk about choices, decision making, and lifelines about making plans, the 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself? And the transition, again, we talk about how the young person is going to transition from the primary school into the secondary school. We look at the rules and regulations. They were used to maybe sitting in one class all day. When they go to a secondary school, they're going into different classes for 40-minute periods. That can be very daunting for a young person. We only brought that in this year now. And that was we do an evaluation every year on our programme, and we find out what gaps we're missing, and that's what we realised that was one area we needed to look at. And we go through, so the young people talk about timetables, how to look at the timetable, how to read a timetable, what do the initials mean. And we also have an art project then that the young people do. So they have a choice whether they want to talk about smoking, doing a diagram for smoking, the health hazards. They can also talk about the effects of alcohol. They can also talk about anything that we've covered on the programme. So for the national school programme then, we talk about effective communication, how to effectively communicate with their parents and their guardians, even the teachers when they're going to the school, because these are all new people they're meeting. Being assertive at times of risk, being able to say no, and feeling comfortable about saying no. Even just putting up the hand sometimes. They don't have the words, but just that's enough, Smoking, alcohol, other substances. We don't actually tell them about the drugs. We ask them what do they know, what words, because sometimes they actually don't know. We're a small country town. A lot of the young people might know what actual drugs are. They just hear on the news. So we don't want to be giving them information or wrong information, because when they go into secondary school, they have the SPHE programme, which we tie in with. And they can talk then to their teachers, and they're given information and the facts from the teachers at school. They go on about the knowledge, the effects of use as well. We bring in jars. We've linked in with resources from around the country, and we have jars of substances like tar that's in cigarettes, so they can actually visualise these things. How many cigarettes are, what they look like, what they smell if you held them in a jar. Really off-putting things. But that's the realistic. Friends as well, their influences, the natural highs. Going shopping for a girl can be great. They don't have to be taking substances, they don't have to be drinking. Going out on sports days with the lads, they can be good things too. And that comes down to the healthy life choices. So the transition programme from primary to secondary, as I said that a few minutes ago, just dispelling the myths as well, that their heads aren't going to be flushed down the toilet. These aren't the initiation periods that they go through. People like to hype up what goes on in schools. A lot of it isn't true. Again, the young people have an art project as well. We give them a prize each school, that we choose a child from each school, so everyone is inclusive. We give them a ticket for the cinema, again, that they can go with a friend. The young people in the secondary school, they get €20 phone credit. It's age appropriate. So the Peer Healthy Lifestyle programme, then it's unique for us. We bring in, with the 6th class students, we bring in the parents on the same evening. So we have 3 evenings in Abbeyfield from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and the kids are in one room. In Abbeyfield, we could have up to 60 to 80 children, so we could have 4 classes of kids, and there's an adult in each class. The previous year's parents will sit in with those young people, so there's an adult in each room. And the other parents then of the confirmation programme will be in a separate room, and they could have a speaker from the HSE talking about drugs and alcohol. They could have someone from GROW, Mental Health Ireland, about keeping ourselves well as parents, because it's so important. If we're not well in ourselves, how can we help our young people? We could have parent support workers from Limerick Social Services come in as well. They talk about parenting, boundaries, consequences, the basics of parenting. Dealing with challenging behaviour, information on drugs, mind and self-supports and education. Everyone leaves at the end of the evening with literature. It's up to them if they want to read it. And that's just, that's the school that we work with, College Ida August Joseph, and that was 2 years ago, their transition year students that we have. And the school has really embraced the programme. They have it up on their website, and it's now become part of the school's programme for the transition year. And you know, it took literally, we're doing this now 5 years, so it's going well. And that's just the art display of the young people that they've done in the 6th class students. Excuse me. And we display this in our local church. The reason we put it up in the local church is it's the community involvement, and it's getting the other people in the area, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, to see what young people can do. It's not always negative, but what young people can get into. This is something positive, so we want to share it. All the young people then, the 6th class students, they go home at the end of the programme with a certificate to say that they participated in this programme. It's like a rite of passage. And our transition year students, they also get a certificate as well, and they say in recognition of facilitating the programme, which they can take then to college, which is something for the CV, especially if they want to go into kind of social work or teaching, or they're just with young people. And that's just a picture there of where we had celebration mass at the end of the programme, and when the young people received their certificates. And that's our local parish priest, Father O'Shea, who does great work with us. And the people there in the blue, they're some of the young people that were actually delivering the programme to these 6th class students. And I know you probably can't see right at the back is the parents that were involved, that sat in the rooms at the nights, and they gave out the notes at the schools, just so that the people knew what times and the dates were going on. So the benefits of peer education, we know from research that's been done that young people will listen to other young people. They won't listen to our age. We don't know anything. We're ancient. We're historic, you know. We're prehistoric. So young people, they relate themselves to their own. They will listen to them. So that's why we feel it's right to give them the right information. So that's why we got involved with a peer-led programme. And we need to change society, the community norms as well. It's to support the risk-reducing behaviours and give our young people the confidence to choose the right options in life. So, as I said before, our programme is a whole family. They come together for the 3 nights, and it works. We've been doing it for 5 years, and as I say, we started with 80, and we're still going with about between 60 to 80 each year. And I suppose because it's the community involvement, we're all there together, and we all help each other, and it really has got legs and has taken off. And it's very cost effective. You know, there are volunteers that are involved in it, and it doesn't get stale because we have new volunteers every year, so people don't get burnt out, and I think that's the important part as well. And this is one of the projects that myself and Mary got involved with last year's transition years, and we made a booklet called Times Gone By, and it was linking in with the St Ida's Daycare Centre, which is across the road from the schools. And we put together the young people in St Mary's Boys' School and Skolmaher Day, the 2 town schools, in 5th year students went in to St Ida's Daycare, and they interviewed the old people to find out what was it like for them growing up, and they took all their stories, and we compiled a book. We got funding from the Community Foundation of Ireland, and we produced this book, And from that, we were able to put a seminar together. So we sold these books for €5, and the transition year students put all that work together for us and sourced photos. And it was just a combination of the community, again, in schools working together, and the young and old. So that was the day when we actually launched the book. We had the MEP, Gerard Collins, that came and launched it for us, and he's a local of Abbeyfield as well. So it was great that we had someone that would come in and open it for us. Without the young people then from Skolmacher Day, they were entertaining us and the old people that were there, residents and friends that visit. And that's Mary Danaher there in the red, and next to her then was Frances Hayes, and she's another local person that's involved and has been roped in by myself and Mary and helps out every night, but we're at the different schools and kind of just making sure everyone knows where they're going. And without them, the programme wouldn't go. And Jean then is up front. She supports Mary in her work as a parent support worker, and Chantel entertained us with a song that day. And that was one of the residents there who was actually part of the book as well. And that was and Darren came down as well to give us a hand as well that day. So it was great to have the input from the Irish Bishop Drugs Initiative as well. So that was one. When we moved on then in 2012, we decided from our needs assessment that we realised that with the recession looming, there was a lot of issues around in the area, and suicide was becoming a problem. So we decided, we went to speak to Dan Neville, who would be a co-founder of the Irish Association of Suicidology, and we said, what can we do in our parish to help? And he volunteered that he'd come out and do a talk, and he said he'd get Dr. John Connolly to come out as well. So we had two people, and we hadn't even a venue at that stage organised. And so we went in, and we knew Dermot Troy from Limerick Youth Service because he's involved there, and he does Trojan work with Samaritans. So we knew then we had a lineup, we just needed a premises. So we went and we looked where could we hold it, something that was local between Newcastle West and Abbeyfield. And we went to the Devon Inn Hotel and we told them what we wanted to do. They gave us the hotel for free. You know, it was just brilliant. I mean, that's a community coming together. So we decided then that they gave us the ballroom. It was massive. And we said, how are we going to fill this? Because we won't get that many people. We got 100 people that day. We were surprised. And we had the HSE, Bernie Carroll, that came out and opened it for us. We started at 7:30 and people were still there at 10 o'clock in the evening, mingling. We had tea and coffee afterwards. We had about 15 organisations. We had stands there that night just for the community so people could see what help is out there. Because some people won't talk, as John said there, you know, questions and answers. A lot of people don't want to ask. They feel that people are looking at them. So we had the stands there and they could talk privately. Myself and Mary then, we were talking earlier on about natural highs. Myself and Mary, we were flying it. We couldn't get over that we got 100 people in one room. We couldn't believe we could get 15 organisations together. So we got the buzz. We got a sponsorship from the ESB. We didn't even have to spend all the money. So we said, what are we going to do with the rest of it? So anyway, we went on. That was the night we had, that was the talk that Bernie Carroll had done for us. And we had Pieta House were one of the representatives there that night, and they lit the candle to set the scene for us, to bring hope. So this is what we went on to then. 6 months later, we went on, because from the talk we got from the community, they said suicide was so final, could we not bring it back a bit? So we said fine. So we went off, and Mary knew Dr. Murphy, Kieran Murphy. He's a local GP and he does a lot around depression, and he's a very approachable doctor. He gave his time free that night as well, wouldn't take anything for it. We got Alan Quinlan, who came out and did a talk on his own story about being dropped from a match and how it affected his mental health and how he suffered from depression, and he gave his life story. We wanted to bring a male spokesperson in because we felt that men's depression wasn't being highlighted enough. There was talks of men losing jobs and men being at home and they were being isolated. So we wanted to bring the men out to come out for that night. We got 300 people that night. We couldn't get over it. We said, geez, we thought 100 was good. 300, how were we going to beat that? We got a community support worker then, Christine Fitzgerald from Grow. She gave her own story as well. She's the Midwest coordinator and her story was powerful. So we had the balance there of the male-female. And we had 30 stands there that night. And we had 50 stands there that night. People were still there at 10:30 at night. And that's just some young people that helped out on the night and that got involved as well. Again, students from the transition years that year. From our Times Gone By booklet that we did, we got money together to put on this, Our Youth Matter. And that was our last seminar that we had in October. And we just, again, came together. We had 30 stands there that night of different people. And we had Jennifer McMahon, who had done a study for Jigsaw to come to Limerick, which hasn't unfortunately come as yet, but we're still chipping away and hopefully we will get it soon. She spoke about the research. Abby Field was part of that research, which is why we brought her back. Headstrong then, we had Amanda Fitzgerald that night, who gave us statistics from Headstrong. Again, it was a more broad way around from the country, around Dublin, etc. Then we had, because we had no Jigsaw in Limerick, we asked Kerry would they come out and support us, because we're on the borders of Kerry. And they came out and they supported us. So we gave them a donation for coming out because they didn't have to cross the border, they had to get a permission to do that. And we had, as I say, various exhibits on the night. And we had the young people as well, they took part that night. And they did a mime, Let It Be, and it was very powerful. There was no words, there were songs, and they did a mime for us. And we had up to 200 to 250 people there that night. That's where I finished.